Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, we're going to be doing a 7-round 2023 New York Jets mock draft. I am totally pumped. Quick little disclaimer though, this is being filmed before we have an answer at quarterback, right? So we don't know Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, maybe somebody else. What's the plan there? Will the Jets end up trading some of these picks to go land a quarterback? We don't know right now, but I just wanted to shift gears and focus on positions not named quarterback, right? Because at the end of the day, football is a team sport, and the Jets do have some holes on the roster, and there's a couple of prospects that I absolutely love in the draft. Okay, so let's not waste time. Let's jump right in. We take a look at the total amount of Jets draft picks. We have 6 this year. We got the 13th overall pick, the 43rd, the 74th, 112, 145, and then 185. So the Jets have pretty high picks in each round, relatively speaking, but let's kick things off with the first round here. With the 13th overall pick, I have the New York Jets going with tackle from Ohio State, Paris Johnson Jr. Coming in at 6'6", 315, Johnson was a former 5-star recruit, and funny enough, he actually reminds me a little bit of AVT back when he was at USC. Considered overall a safe prospect, one of these high floor types of players, and I feel like that's really what the Jets need right now. We need some safe bets. We need some consistency. We need some reliability, especially on the offensive line. A position by position, I mean the entire unit that's up in the air. I feel like on a week-to-week basis, right? Outside of like McGovern at center, but every other position is just like, you know, who's healthy this week? Who can go this week, right? Everything is just up in the air. It's just weird, and I don't like being in this position whatsoever. So when I'm looking at Paris Johnson, again, a high floor prospect, this is somebody who's well-versed on the offensive line. He has 3 years of playing experience. He's lined up at left tackle, lined up at right guard. So multiple positions here, and he's played on either side of the center. I think that's really important. You look at the school that he's coming from, Ohio State. This system that Ohio State runs calls for guys, for the offensive linemen to be athletic, guys that can move well, guys that can get to the second level, all traits that the New York Jets will need in this Nathaniel Hackett offense. We take a look at some of his snaps. As a sophomore, he played in 13 games at right guard. In 768 snaps, he allowed 13 quarterback hurries, 1 quarterback hit, and no sacks. Junior year, 12 games at left tackle, 757 snaps, 9 quarterback hurries, 1 sack allowed. So in the past 2 years, Paris Johnson at multiple positions in the Big Ten, think Iowa, think Wisconsin, think Michigan State, think Penn State. This conference has been like defined by the trenches. Teams constantly have great offensive lines, great defensive lines. This is not like, his resume is not a joke. By no means is that a joke. 1 sack in 2 years at multiple positions in one of the best conferences in college football. I think when you talk about system fit, when you talk about consistency, when you talk about culture, Paris Johnson really checks all of those boxes. And another quick, cool little bit of information. He's at Ohio State, so he's a former teammate of Garrett Wilson, and he's a former teammate of Jeremy Ruckert. Okay, so right off the bat, I think Paris Johnson just makes so much sense. Who's realistically going to be there at 13. Okay, so next up, round 2, pick 43. I'm going Trenton Simpson, linebacker from Clemson. Coming in at 6'3", 240, Simpson's a guy who's really lined up at multiple linebacker spots, right underneath the linebacker umbrella, if you will, for Clemson. This is a guy who's extremely athletic. When I'm thinking about Simpson's fit with the New York Jets, right, this 4-3 system, I think he would do a great job at what Quan Alexander did a year ago. Weak side linebacker. Simpson, to me, has all the traits to drop back in coverage, right? He has the ability to flock sideline to sideline. Really be an energizer, blowing up screens and checkdowns, right? Running backs in the flat. This is a guy who can just instantly swallow those guys up and completely shut down the play. He's somebody that could also spy a quarterback if you need him to, right? Think about all the mobile quarterbacks in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, like possibly Bryce Young now. And even the guys that aren't considered like running quarterbacks, like Trevor Lawrence can still hurt you outside the pocket. Joe Burrow can still get outside the pocket and pick up first downs with his legs. Like there's Tua. There's a lot of guys that have the ability to move around. Simpson's presence on the field gives you somebody that can match up athletically with some of these quarterbacks and can limit damage, especially with extending plays and getting outside the pocket, quarterback design runs, things of that nature. I think Simpson would come in and do a great job with. You look at his 3 seasons of experience at Clemson. I mean, this is a guy who's really done a good job of flying around the football field, making his presence known in every facet of the game, dropping back in coverage, even rushing the passer. I know the Jets probably won't ask him to rush the passer a lot because, in the style of system, they require the front 4 to do that, or really to get that job done. But, in the occasional blitz, Simpson, he has the potential to do that. Okay, so from top to bottom, I think Simpson would come in and really give the Jets a young, explosive guy with a high ceiling at a position of need at linebacker. Of course, I would love to have Quan Alexander back, but with the Jets cap situation looking how it is right now, understanding that there's holes on the O-line, knowing, again, right now, late February here, we don't have a quarterback. Quinnen Williams extension, Quincy Williams is a free agent. Like, there's a lot of things financially that Joe Douglas has to cover. If Quan Alexander isn't in the plans moving forward, I could easily see Simpson stepping in. One more quick point I want to make here. Think about what Saleh has done with linebackers, whether it's with the Jets, whether it's with the 49ers. It seems like all these guys get better with time. These guys develop under Robert Saleh. These linebackers have crazy, I feel like it doesn't matter if you're like a top end guy, like a CJ Mosley, everybody that's somebody that's known around the league, or somebody that comes in like a Fred Warner as a middle round pick. These guys develop under Saleh's tutelage. Okay, so next up, round 3, pick 74. I'm going safety from Notre Dame, one of my favorite players in the entire draft, Brandon Joseph. Quite frankly, I don't feel like Joseph gets talked about enough. He's a ball-hawking free safety. He plays my favorite position on the field. He has ball skills. He has body control. He's disciplined in coverage. He knows where you need to be in the deep parts of the field. And again, when we're talking about Saleh's system, Saleh and Ulbricht's system here, it's cover 3, it's cover 4. Can this guy play? Can this guy hawk the ball down from the middle deep parts of the field? The answer is yes. This is a guy who only played 1 season at Notre Dame. Before that, he was at Northwestern, where he was a madman, right? The Northwestern tape is what really got me fired up about Joseph in the first place. He was an All-American back in 2020 for the Wildcats, and to me, I think one of the biggest traits about Joseph that just stands out when I watch him, he's always in the right spot at the right time. You get that pass deflection, who's there to pick it off? It's Joseph. He's hardly taking a step. He's exactly where he needs to be. A slant gets hit over the middle, the guy can't bring him down initially. Who's there to make that second contact? It's Joseph. He has the ability to fly upfield and to tackle, right, to help out in contested tackles. I would say right now, his weakness, the reason why, we're talking about him in round 3 here as opposed to like round 2, round 1, open field tackling, one-on-one tackling, like if you just get him on an island, I think that's where the concerns start to pop up. But again, when I'm looking at the Saleh defense, we're talking about round 3 here. Does he have potential to grow into an open field tackler? To me, the answer is yes. He has a great resume. I love the skill set. I love the skill set in this style of system as well. I really think he could be a plug and play starter. So we're talking about getting a starter in round 3 here. I wouldn't be surprised if after the combine, after pro days and all this stuff, he shoots up to round 2. I just can't really find many people talking about him. I know a lot of buzz is surrounding Alabama and their safety unit, and rightfully so. But Brandon Joseph, I really think the Jets should take a look here. And another thing too, spent the first couple of seasons with Northwestern, went to Notre Dame, didn't have as good production, but they did ask him to fill the shoes of Kyle Hamilton. Okay, so I think round 3, Brandon Joseph, to me, is a slam dunk. Okay, so next up, round 4 here, pick 112 overall. We're going guard/tackle from Utah, another one of my favorite players here, Braden Daniels. He's a 5th-year senior and excelled in pass protection at right tackle and left tackle. Let me just read you off some of these stats here. 2021, 14 games, 959 snaps, 2 quarterback hits allowed, 1 sack. right tackle. 2022, left tackle. 13 games, 879 snaps, no quarterback hits, no sacks. He has quick feet. He can get to the second level. His pass protection is crazy. He's experienced. He's not going to come in like extremely raw or anything like that. I think when we're talking about round 4, to get a guy on the offensive line, I don't want to say he reminds me of Max Mitchell or anything like that, but he's a guy that I feel like if worst case scenario he's thrown into the mix, he has to play right away, it's not going to be like that big of a deal. He's not going to be overwhelmed. He's not going to be completely manhandled or anything like that. Of course, it depends on who he's going up against. I think maybe the bigger, stronger defensive ends and defensive tackles could give him a little bit of trouble, especially in the running game. That's where that's where the weak spots start to show up. But I mean, when we're talking pass pro, Daniels really fits to me what Hackett would be looking for. And again, you get those added benefits of the experience at numerous positions, the overall experience of playing in college. To me, matched with the athleticism, Braden Daniels in round 4 here makes sense. All right, next up, round 5 pick, 145 overall. We're sticking with the offensive line. I know it could be a little annoying to draft so many offensive linemen here, but I felt like that was one of the, outside of quarterback last year, it was one of the main weaknesses, both on the inside and on the outside. I mean, the Jets had so many players there last year, but at the end of it, due to injuries, due to poor play, they were just, it wasn't enough. It was not enough. To me, this is the draft. If you want to focus on offensive line, there's a ton of really good ones, and we're going back to it here in round 5. Luke WYPLER, center, Ohio State. 6'3", 300 pounds. WYPLER makes all the sense in the world to me when I'm talking about a developmental center that could play sooner rather than later. He has insane production in pass protection, right? In the last 2 seasons, he's allowed 1 sack over 1,600 snaps. That's crazy. Okay, this guy can pass protect. All right, and by the way, since we're talking about offensive linemen here, there has been a common trend. I want guys who can protect in the passing game. I am just maybe it was just because I still have flashbacks of seeing Mike White getting speared and seeing his ribs getting fractured, and Zach Wilson getting hurt every season. Before that, Sam Darnold getting hurt every season. Joe Flacco, just watching him getting tackled, just. It hurts me watching, just looking at it. It's just, I don't want to be in a position where Aaron Rodgers hits the Jets, Derek Carr hits the Jets, and now these guys are just constantly picking themselves off the turf, battling injuries, worst case scenario. I want this line figured out. And again, going back to WYPLER here, our first round pick was Paris Johnson. So WYPLER and Johnson have experience playing on the same offensive line for multiple years here. And again, much like Johnson, because he's coming from Ohio State, he's coming from a system that calls for the traits that the Jets are going to be looking for. Does he move well? Yes. Is he athletic? Yes. Does he have quick feet? Yes. Can he pull well? Yes. Personally, where I feel like WYPLER looked the best is in outside zone. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking about round 5 here. Of course, we're not going to get some like top 10, top 15 prospect. We're looking at more so developmental guys. But I look at WYPLER, you know, granted, he might go in like round 4 or something like that. I personally, though, I do feel like for whatever reason, the center position just doesn't get taken that high anymore, as opposed to maybe like back when I was growing up. But I mean, we saw like Creed Humphrey, like an elite center prospect, come out a couple years ago. He was drafted in what, round 4? Like middle rounds here to the Chiefs, comes in, hits the league, and it's just great, like right off the bat. Linderbaum was kind of the big name last year. Not saying WYPLER is the best center in the class, but you know, I think he would make so much sense for the Jets, especially if they go get Paris Johnson in round 1. Okay, and last but not least here, round 6, pick 185. I'm going with wide receiver from Florida, Justin Shorter. At 6'4", 225, Shorter would give this Jets team something that I feel like they don't have a lot of, which is size at the wide receiver position. Look, I love Garrett Wilson. I love some of these skilled players like Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Elijah Moore's here. Braxton Berrios is here. The Jets have dynamic players. But if this team goes out and cuts Corey Davis, where's the size at wide receiver? The other big receiver on the roster, Denzel Mims, has not rescinded his trade request, so he could very well be on the move. We need size here at the wide receiver position. Shorter's a guy who could win box out, he'll win 50-50 balls. He can box out corners, manhandle certain guys. You also look at his speed, and I think this is an underrated part of his game. He averaged just under 20 yards per catch at Florida, and the sample size was actually pretty big. 577 yards in 9 games, again, averaging just under 20 yards per catch. That tells me that he can hurt defenses down the field. And by the way, this is in the SEC, so much like we were talking about before with Big Ten and trench play, this SEC, we're talking about Auburn, Texas A&M, Alabama, like really solid, technically sound defensive backs, right? So and great coaches too, by the way. I think in round 6 here, go get a guy with a high upside. I think the combine is going to be huge for Shorter because you look at the overall college production. By the way, he's a 5th-year senior and was a Penn State transfer. It's not like he set the world on fire. It's not like he would rack up like 10, 12 TDs a season or anything like that. It's one of those things where you get Shorter in an NFL locker room and you just hope he grows and maybe becomes a diamond in the rough. So for me, that's my 7th round, or I guess 6th round New York Jets mock draft here. To quickly recap, we had Paris Johnson, tackle from Ohio State in round 1, Trenton Simpson, linebacker from Clemson in round 2, Brandon Joseph, free safety from Notre Dame in round 3, Braden Daniels, guard/tackle from Utah in round 4, Luke WYPLER, center, Ohio State, round 5. Justin Shorter, wide receiver from Florida in round 6. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. One of my favorite things about doing mock drafts, whether it's like a full mock draft or a 7th-round mock draft, is checking out everybody's mocks down below in the comment section. Like, who do you want the Jets to go target? I cannot wait to check it out. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.